Cinema Worms.
Discussing everything from Grima Wormtongue to the Shy Halib.
For the thumbnail. Hi everyone. So I'm talking about Chronology of Water solo today. I saw the film a month ago at a preview at the British Film Institute in London, and it would have been a perfect time closer to then to talk about it, but as things have been very busy and cold, and I also felt like I walked out of that film so stunned that I couldn't even formulate my thoughts. I still haven't, but I'm glad I'm getting a chance to sit down and talk about it. Cool story. I was at the BFI for a summit called Woman with a Camera, and it was awesome. Somehow I got invited, and it was amazing to be there. I got to talk on a panel about grief in film with the star of On Becoming a Guinea Fowl, Susan Chardy, and she was so nice, lovely. So Chronology of Water, got to see a preview of it introduced by some BFI staff and Imogen Poots in person, and the theater was completely packed. And yeah, it was that film is a definition of an experience. Luckily, I didn't know anything about it going in, and I would advise the same. So I'm going to try not to spoil it. It's difficult to spoil because it is such an experiential work of art. So trying to describe it in terms of plot and what happens is not that useful. So there's a plot, but there also isn't. There aren't even explicit scenes in the film. Okay, basically, I'll give you the basis of a foundation to understand what the Chronology of Water is. It is an adaptation of the 2011 memoir by the writer Lydia Yunkovich, who was born in 1963 and raised in a abusive, traumatic household with a father who was sexually abusive, a mother with alcoholism, and her sister endured abuse throughout their childhood. So the story is about her journey through trauma and relationships and eventually finding her art in writing. So that's the basic plot, and I think it's useful to know that going in. I found I was actually quite confused about the era because it read as sort of era-less, but then it was clearly something in the 70s or 80s. But she was born in 1963, so I think a lot of those childhood sequences are around 1970, and then as she's older, it's like early 80s. So a lot of those period touches. Kristen Stewart adapted the screenplay from the memoir and had been working on this film or trying to make it sort of come to fruition through her vision for many years, and she directed it. And it stars Imogen Poots as Lydia. We have Thora Birch playing her sister. We have a number of other actors involved playing friends in Lydia's sphere, love interests, her parents. Jim Belushi comes in later in the film as a inspiring writer, writing professor, author who really helps Lydia find her voice, or is part of the journey of her finding her writing voice. All of that being said, this is a completely unique kind of film for me anyway. It's very, very bold, challenging, overwhelming, visceral, raw. It is like being dropped into memory. You are moving through time in a fractured way, back and forth. You're given snapshots, memories, sensory explosions. You're given odd angles. You're given fear. You're given bodily fluid, violence, disaster, tenderness. it is femininity ripped apart and bleeding. And I think that was Kristen Stewart's intention. It very much, I think, is accurately capturing the experience of, well, being human, but also moving through trauma, especially childhood trauma like that, that absolutely fractures your sense of self and time, and pulls you back into the past constantly, and leads to so much destructiveness in your adult life, mental health, substance use issues. So throughout the film, we're seeing Lydia in various points in her life. And when I say there aren't scenes, it's because you think about a scene as a character is engaged in some sort of action or conversation, and there's like this mini arc. It runs for a few minutes. You're just like used to films playing out that way, and those scenes add up to the arc overall of the story. This film does have its own kind of through line, but there are very few full scenes. It's like moments in time, right? It's a child like crying in the corner. It's a flash of violence. It's an interaction. It's a hazy memory. It's a guttural scream. It's flashes of sex or masturbation. It's a furious attempt to write, and it's failure over and over, but it's snapshots. And this just keeps going from the very beginning of the film throughout, right? You're pulled from snapshot to sensory experience. The camera it's film, and the camera is fluid. It's hazy. There's focus on just tactile elements. There's noise. And it sounds like, oh my gosh, I'm sitting there and it's going to be this like horrible traumatic experience, but it's like being submerged into someone's consciousness and then their subconsciousness. And it's very exciting and emotional, kind of. And exciting, I mean, as in terms of the artistic leaps that Stewart is taking here. And the performance from Imogen Poots is absolutely mind-blowing. It's not even like she's acting. I felt like I forgot she was an actor. I felt like I was being immersed into something so authentic, and all the acting is great. But Imogen Poots obviously is the star, the driver of the film. And I'm telling you all these things, but it's hard to describe. And I feel like if you have any interest in all these themes I'm talking about, that you would find this like a really like revelatory and beautiful, overwhelming, sort of discombobulating experience. And what else did I want to say? It's also transgressive too, in its relentlessness and its realness. So I think it's an absolutely bold, brilliant film, which it's too much also. Like it just is. But I was okay with it, but also it was too much. It was quite overwhelming. But that was part of what kept you sort of rolling along with the progression of this sort of movement back and forth through time. You had to feel kind of overwhelmed because that's what's happening with Lydia. I'll leave it at that. I really hope people go out and see it, and I really want to talk to someone else who's seen it, because I haven't gotten to talk to anyone who's seen Chronology of Water. It came out in the UK about like 10 days ago. It should be available to see. I highly recommend going to watch it. And to all my psychology peeps out there, see the film and let me know your thoughts, or just comments down below if you found it to be a good representation of trauma. That's it. Zabib solo rambling about a film I really enjoyed about a month ago. Thanks for being here.